I normally say, welcome to my studio, and obviously I'm not at home in my studio. Actually, I'm sitting in the sanctuary of a church that we are currently serving as transitional pastors. It's a delight to be here. And it's always a delight to share a reflection from God's Word. And, I've been doing this whole series of reflections called Nuggets from James, and this will be the final one in that whole series. And James has one more nugget for us that I think is really significant. It's the last two verses. I'm just going to read them and then make a few comments on that I think may be helpful. My brothers and sisters, if one of you should wander from the truth and someone should bring that person back, remember this: whoever turns a sinner from the error of their way will save them from death and cover over a multitude of sins. Well, there's certainly a lot that James could be referring to in these couple of verses. And so I've been kind of wondering exactly what is he talking about regarding a brother or sister that could be wandering. Another word for the wandering would be straying. Is he referring to somebody who may be caught up in some kind of a sinful behavior pattern and needs to be confronted about that some way? And talked to and encouraged to leave that way of sin or whatever they're doing and be brought back. Well, that could be because it does say, remember whoever turns a sinner from the error of their way. And so it might be that. And of course, those are the difficult conversations to have. I don't know how often that is done well. But people, if somebody is, wandering into some kind of a sinful behavior pattern, it's very appropriate for a brother or sister to say, I'd like to talk to you about something I'm observing, and it's really distressing and concerning to me. And so in that case, I would see where something like Galatians 6:1 comes into play well. Brothers and sisters, if someone is caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently. And then, of course, that caution, but watch yourself, because you may be tempted. And so if you are, and you need to be guided by the Spirit, those of you who live by the Spirit. And so the idea of talking to a brother or sister that is engaged in some kind of a sinful behavior pattern, and it's always hard to know when we should do that and how to initiate those conversations and to do it gently and lovingly. And that's really significant. But the other option that James might be referring to is somebody who is wandering from the faith and seeming to leave that confidence in Jesus that they've had and just beginning to doubt their salvation and their faith or whatever it might be. And in that culture, maybe someone who had been a part of the church has now wandered into idolatry again or something like that. And that's disconcerting as well. I think for example, in our modern world, we've heard the term deconstructing, where some people are kind of deconstructing their faith. Do I really believe what I've been thinking all along? And is this something I want to hold on to or not? And I don't have a huge problem with people really questioning and wondering. Jesus was always on the side of truth. And so I do encourage people to want to be seeking the truth. But it's my hope and care that if somebody is in that deconstructing idea, that there's a point of reconstructing and putting it back together. And that's where, again, a Christian brother or sister maybe would come alongside that person and say, well, let's think through together where your faith is at and why. And try to find what Jesus is really teaching and what this means to be a follower of Jesus. I think of a story of a hymn writer from years ago. It's a hymn that's sung in churches a lot. The hymn is Come Thou Fount. Tune my heart to sing your songs of praise. And the story that I remember hearing about this hymn writer, Robert Robinson, that in his older years, he's riding in a stagecoach in London or in England somewhere, and he's riding with someone who had just been doing some work in hymns and writing about a hymn, and she's humming the tune. And she said to him, "Are you curious about the tune I'm humming?" And he just burst into tears. And he said, I would live 1,000 lives all over again if I could just have the same feeling I had when I wrote those words. And he was the one who had written that hymn, Come Thou Fount. And so it's almost like he was prophetic in writing that third verse where at the end of it says, prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, oh, take and seal it for thy throne above. And it's my understanding that he did come back to that faith that he professed and that had invigorated him so much in his younger years. I'm not sure quite all of the details of how that story plays out, but the idea that we do need to be careful to guard our own way so that we do not wander and that we stay true to the scriptures of what God is teaching us. And James is so encouraging when he says, remember this, whoever turns a sinner from the error of their way will save them from death and cover over a multitude of sins. And, we do encourage people when we bring them back on the path, if we invite them back on, and it can actually be a very rescuing thing, as James is saying, and covering a multitude of sins. And Lord, I'm so thankful that people have come into my life to help keep me following Jesus. And I pray that that would be the case for each of us, that we can be on that same path of journey of learning to follow Jesus more and more. And so may God bless you as you continue to ponder your own confidence in Jesus and what that means in your life. God's blessings to you.